Oh, you know what's funny? Hey, y'all. Howdy. Howdy, Ags. I've been talking to myself for 3 minutes. Neat. So we're live. Oh, tell me we're live. This was not expected that we would be doing this tonight. A couple things you should know. I'm an Astros fan, and I'm tired. So both of those things are in direct conflict with doing a live stream. But we got to get it done. There's a lot to do. Centerpole raising is tomorrow. Sounds like the audio is good, so that's good. And we have 1,200 Centerpole unload photos to go through. So that's more than a few. All right. Without further ado, let's get this started. We rolling? There we go. All right. First, as with every live Cull and Good Bull of the 2022 season, Rio Brazos, Chimney Hill. Delicious. So good. I'm so glad that I can say the name out loud of what I'm drinking. Let's roll. Howdy, Ags. Welcome to Cull and Good Bull for Centerpole Unload for Bonfire 2022. This is, we are officially into stack season with Centerpole Unload. There's still one more cut left, and I have a confession. I don't know. There's no excuse for this. But I was taking photos at Family Cut, which we didn't get to do a Cull and Good Bull for because we had a tight turnaround on getting ready for Centerpole Unload, and there was 1,800 photos from Family Cut. So at some point, I'm going to do a review of the photos that we picked and just talk about some of the stories behind some of the photos that I picked. Those are available at dion-c.me/bonfire-2022, or just go to dion-c.me, dion-c.me. And all of the photos are posted, as with every other photo that was selected for the year. But in any event, 1,800 photos, 1,800 photos from Family Cut. And I'm taking these photos, and it's towards the end of Family Cut. Good Lord, I'm going to tell you why my voice is like this later. We'll see why. But this is towards the end of the cut, and I hear Walton talking about this is the last truck, boys. Get motivated. And I went, this is never a big deal. What do you mean? And then somebody's like, well, next week is dress log cut, and it's over. This season has flown by. I was completely out of touch with where we were in the season. I was just assuming we had at least one or two more cuts left. So if you think that we're to stack fast already, good Lord, my mind is blown. So let's get to this. So we've got, I'm out there a little bit early getting set up. Actually had some work phone calls I had to take care of. So wanted to get out there and get those finished up before the trucks rolled in. There's the Como. It has moved to the new stack site, and hopefully we'll have some cool developments with Como. This is the Red Pots, the Junior Red Pots Comm Shack. Hence Como. Back when it was on campus, this was full of communications equipment, phones, radios, all that stuff. Phones that, this might shock some of you to hear, but phones that were attached to the wall with wires, and you talked into those and you couldn't take them with you. So the combo shack was built for that purpose. And in the last decade, especially, it no longer fits that purpose because comms are in everybody's pocket. So hopefully we'll have some cool developments around that. There's some motivated former students, past Reds, that are working on something pretty cool there. We see already the cap and the poles that we're going to be seeing on mounted to Centerpole tomorrow. Everybody that comes to Centerpole raising will see this tomorrow. There's always some days between Centerpole unload and Centerpole raising. It's not as easy as it gets out there and put it up. You've got to prep the pole, put the collar on, put the cap on, make sure everything's aligned correctly, do a bunch of welding. This stuff is on site, and what's happening currently right now is getting that Centerpole ready, and it's going to be going until tomorrow. Now, there's work to be done. I mean, granted, Centerpole unload is fun. It's motivating. People, you'll see, we'll see. And you've seen in past Centerpole unloads. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of fun to be had before Centerpole gets there. But there's also work to do. So, they called for yellow pots and butt pots, to get them on the job. Torn between those two. It's like picking glasses. One or two. Anyway, so run into the yellow pots, butt pots call. And what they're going to be doing is they're moving the perimeter poles. As with all the poles donated, so that's deeply appreciated. Bonfire has been, for anybody who's on, who's not a participant, Bonfire is always student-led, student-executed, but the students are also going out and either soliciting support and donations or working their asses off at any sorts of odd jobs they can do to raise the money, moving people in, splitting wood, whatever they can do to raise money. So in any year, that's a lot of money that they got to raise. But especially this year with having to relocate sites. And as I mentioned in the last Cull and Good Bull, we're going to have a really outstanding video here put together by just a master drone smith who did a really incredible job. And we're going to illustrate not only where the new stack site is, but some of the work that's involved. And there's a lot of work that's involved, and there's a lot of expense that's involved in setting up any stack site. And the stack site that we've been at since 2009 was set up over time, over 13 years. And now the students have 13 weeks to get that done. So the demands on, and here we see creosote. See there, the creosote hands. Don't pick your nose. You know, when you have creosote hands, that would be my advice. In any event, they've had 13 weeks to put together all of the infrastructure, the power. Wire is not cheap. Nothing is cheap now. Wire's not cheap. Meter drops. The dirt work, moving, all of this stuff. It has taken a lot. So thanks to everybody who donates and makes it that much easier or less hard for the students to get the job done. So we're seeing the beginnings of the shenanigans, challenging perimeter. So, as is said, Centerpole unload is the establishment. What's happening here is the establishment of perimeter. And you'll see people testing that. They're going to test the JERPs on what exactly the JERPs mean by protecting perimeter. And so among so many other things, yes, everybody's having fun, but you're reinforcing the idea that there is a perimeter and there are people who own it. And if you get out of hand or push buttons, then you're gonna get to like bear crawl to the fence. And so you see, we've already got some folks who are already on their way to the fence, and this was recurring. Now I'll point out that the run to the fence thing is recent, and they do it like it's the way it's always been done, and I love it. It's very fun. It's a fun way of handling things. I know in past years it was handled differently, but this is a fun way of doing it. Just making folks run to the fence. And I'm going to credit, I think I would credit Brian Peters with making the go touch the fence a phenomenon. And they've just introduced creativity to it, like roll to the fence. Not exactly sure what's happening here. Not exactly sure, but something's happening there. And again, pushing the Junior Red Pots buttons. In some years past, there were thick, heavy ropes around perimeter, and people would pull and tug and push on those and try and rip the T-posts out, and that was fun. That was fun, but then again, you ended up with T-posts out of the ground and, the insanity, sort of. So, this was general taunting is how it starts. In the meantime, again, there's work to be done. So the brown pots are lining up the chalks, the green pots as well, as we see. Tape measure laid out, spacing the chalks correctly. This is what Centerpole will ride on once it's unloaded. And so while they're working off to the side, we begin the tug of wars. There's always going to be some kind of game going on. And ideally a series of games. I feel like this year's Centerpole unload moved very fast. I mean, people got out, I think it's 5 o'clock, something like that. And I believe it was by 6:30 that Centerpole was pulling up. So we got here quick. It's coming from Lufkin Creosote is who's donating the big poles. The windle sticks in the Centerpole. So it's got a trip to get down here. And like I said, I think it moved a lot faster. So they got some tug of wars in. You've seen in past Centerpole unloads. I mean, there's baseball with fruit, all sorts of contests, races, fish games. This year, This year, I don't know that there just wasn't time for that. Everything just moved so quickly, and everybody got to tug of war. And what's happening too for me is that, you know, while Bonfire's learning how they're setting up their new space, I'm learning how I'm going to take pictures in it, because I had it figured out. You know, we've been at this other site since 2009, and I've been photographing since 2010. So, you know, I had, what does that work out to? 12 Centerpoles that I figured out where the light is going to be. I figured out where the sun is going to set. I could point and tell you within a tree or two where the sun was going to set over the horizon, so that I knew where I needed to stand when a crew was hauling a windle stick out of the way off of the truck, or when people were getting to race towards the Centerpole when the Reds would call for meat. I'm starting from nothing here. And so I'm just playing around, trying to figure out this light, figure out where the sun's going, hoping that maybe they do move a little quick so that we still have light, because we're certainly closer to the tree line here than we were at the other place. So I'm kind of feeling like the sun might disappear sooner. But in any event, nobody else gives a shit about any of that. They're just having fun. And I'm trying to figure it out. And, they were doing something here. They told me what they were doing. I don't know what they're doing. But obviously it's really important. Now, I don't know if it was at this point already. Was it at this point? Yeah, so it had already happened at this point. This is why my voice sucks right now. Not this right here, not this scene, but these tug of wars. You know, we had Family Cut. We had Family Cut last weekend. And every year there's more and more former students who show up. And former participants who show up, whose Aggies are now participating in Bonfire today. And so there's more and more folks out there for Family Cut every year that know the drill and have been through it. And so they're at Family Cut, not just spending time with their motivated young Aggie, but they're learning, they're relearning the stuff that they themselves once did. And it becomes sort of a process of discovery where you're figuring out that you obviously know what the students are doing because you once did it, but you forget how hard it was and how much you were able to do and to what degree you were able to do stuff. And then you go out there and it's so much fun to see these former students participating and then see how quickly they realize, oh my gosh, I'm not the person I used to be. B, I can't believe I was ever that person. And so, you know, it's motivating in that way. And, here we see the Suspenders crew, picking on, their Suspenders Jerp. So that was fun. And of course he sends them to the fence. But you learn a lot about, you know, that kind of thing, how hard the job was. You already knew it was hard, but you've forgotten just how hard, and you forgot what you were able to once do. And so I guess it's against that, contrasted against that I'm kind of thinking about what happened where they're doing tug of war and Walton's doing a tug of war and they're kind of outnumbered. And it was, like right before this, and they're outnumbered. And so it looks like they're fading fast. And I jumped in, like former students were doing it at Family Cut. And I wanted to see if I still had this stuff. Not physically, because I know I don't. There's no question about that. But that's not what I was testing. I wanted to see if I could still, bring the mustard verbally. And I don't know. Maybe I did. Because Walton was outnumbered and it looked like they were losing. And I stopped taking pictures and I went and got on the rope and I started yelling things and hopefully inspirational or something. I don't know. In any event, two things happened. Walton turned the tide and they won the tug of war match. And B, I lost my voice. So, returning to how former students feel when they come out to Family Cut, you leave with a newfound respect for what students are doing today that you used to do. And you marvel at, oh my gosh, I forgot how hard that was. God bless these students who are able to bring the mustard in whatever way it is that they do it every single day. And I'm sitting here with my messed up voice, looking at every red pot and jerp and motivator out there going, man, God bless you guys. I can't believe I used to be able to sustain that. And I couldn't even last one tug of war. So, that's the way it goes. What we're seeing here is, again, a new thing to my mind. They played the Charlie Brown song. Charlie Brown, gonna get caught. Just you wait and see. So while that song is playing, the Charlie Brown butt pot, Squadron 16, has got to run around and not stop running. And so that's what was going on here. And at one point he got too close to the fence and to the perimeter, and the jerk sent him to the fence. And then when he went to the fence, the core butt pot, who used to be the Charlie Brown butt pot, he took his place and ran around all goofy until the Charlie Brown butt pot came back. So there would always be a Squadron 16 butt pot running around. I think this might have been the last tug of war, and this quickly grew into a literal all hands effort. And again, figuring things out. The exposures here are garbage. Oh well. But here's what we're after. This is what everybody wants. See it back there? There it comes. This is what we're all here for. And they're coming in, and I don't like interfering with the scene very much, telling people to move this way or that way, but I was certainly hoping that those people would get out of the road in a hurry so I could get a shot. And I'm seeing this for the first time, so I don't know if I got this shot. I think we're getting close. Wait a minute. I'll take that one. Yeah, I'll take that one. So there it is, Centerpole coming into sight. At this point, Centerpole is on site, not yet to perimeter. Ah, such good bull. Such good bull. I I was trying to get a picture of how many people were there, and obviously I failed at that. Here, these aren't great. I think you're going to see here when we do moving Centerpole. Let's call it that. Moving Centerpole, lifting it. I was trying to get that here, but I had to get to the other side, the north side of this perimeter, and catch them preparing to unload first the window sticks on either side of the truck. There's the ramps all staged. I got to tell you, things are really squared away this year. I mean, everybody's on top of getting things ready and prepared. It's a well-oiled machine. I mean, you got to be squared away to get one season to the next, but there's just something. They thought about everything. There's nothing where they look around and go, "Hey, did you get that?" No, I thought you did. They are polished. Now, I was afraid these weren't going to work. I told them they got tight for a photo, and I told them I didn't think it was going to work because they're backlit. But it might have worked. Good enough for government work. But the ones I'm after always with these, I'm always trying to live up to the. I'm always going to be living up to the Centerpole unload photos of 2011, and I don't know. All right, so here's what I'm after. Sort of. And again, it's hard to predict with being on a new site. I always knew where I needed to be, where the sun was going to be, and it's just harder to do here. But I'm going for always that silhouette. And I had one year, I think it was 2013. They really put the pressure on me that year, where the Reds told me one of the Reds told me right before Centerpole unload, I think it was the day before, they said, "Hey, Dion, ever since I knew I wanted to be a red pot, I thought, hey, I'm gonna get that photo, that Centerpole photo. That's gonna happen to me." So all of a sudden I realized that people were paying attention, and that put a lot of pressure. And this is close. I mean, I sort of like this one, but I just don't know if I'm ever going to be able to beat. And I'm always going to try. But 2011, and some of y'all might recall, which you might have seen them. But I love the Centerpole unload photos there. It's just sort of like the time-lapse photo that I took at Burn, where I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do that again. I'm going to keep trying. I'll show you. It'll be worth it. Looking at dress logs. We actually looked at the dress log load from 2011, a couple, last Cull and Good Bowl, maybe the one before. While I'm pulling this up, 2011 had in total 6,565 photos. In total for that whole year. I've got that in the past 3, which is crazy. the past three events. So, God, this is a lot of photos. Here we go. There it is. This is it. God, I love this one. I don't know if anybody's still paying attention anymore, but this one, oh God, I love this one. That's so good. It was Trace. Yeah. So anyway, that's always what I'm going for. But, you know, you get do the best with what you can, right? Yeah. So let's get back to 2022, shall we? So we got them preparing to unload the truck of the window sticks and the Centerpole. Now, when the first Centerpole came in, 2003, we actually, it was one of those deals, and I think they had an article about it a few years ago, but we kind of said, just go get a big pole and 4 poles that are not as big and put them on a truck and bring them here. And so they did. And I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know where they got it from. I didn't care. I just needed the poles. So, and nobody cared. And so me and my buddies, they send the thing off. Well, it comes back, and we get the poles. And on the way in, at the time, it was Centerpole and those other poles. That was the plan going into the season. You're going to get Centerpole and those other poles. Here, the junior is clearing the truck sticks, putting the skids on, as has been done for all of unload for this year. But it was not even a month before the first Centerpole was coming in that our buddy Levi Wendell passed away. And so it was when the poles were on their way, the first Centerpole, the first window sticks off campus, first window sticks ever. Those never existed before. But the first Centerpole off campus after 99. And those, in here we see the yellow pot race. But those are coming in. And it was when they were on the truck, almost a stack site, that we came up with the name window sticks, to name them after Levi. Our occasion was not nearly as I don't know if ceremonial is the right word. There was not as much prescribed activity at ours as there is now. Games that everybody expects, yellow pot races. You got to get a yellow pot race in. Usually the yellow pot race is happening when Centerpole is still on its way in. But in this case, obviously, we saw Centerpole is already here. But it was one of those, hey, wait a minute. We can't not have a yellow pot race. And so they fit it in. One of the things you'll notice almost immediately is that, yeah, it might be a little dry, but it is not the dust storm that the other stack site has become, having been, every last bit of green destroyed in the last 13 years. This is still basically, this is grass that's been worked over with trucks and a tractor. But you don't get the dust cloud effect happening the way you had been getting. I think it was 3 years ago. That maybe 4, that the green pots as a position came into their green fire suits. So that's a great thing to see. This is, in cycling terms, the Lanterne Rouge. Nobody else calls it that. But there's great honor in finishing last, because at least you finished. And that's what we got there. So these are the poles are coming off now. The windle sticks are coming off. And then they call the windle sticks. Yellows come and call meat to the windle sticks, and they're going to pull those away. Hey, this is another one I was really nervous about. Another series of photos I was nervous about because I had it figured out at the other site. They're going to be marching into the sunset. They always go into the sunset, and they march those logs right to where the sun's going, and I know where the sun's going. And now it's different, but that's fine, because now we get the cool sunset on people instead of from behind them. And the windle sticks are a nice warm up for sure to Centerpole, because we're coming up on it here. Look, there's the windle sticks compared to Centerpole. So there's a lot more going on there. Ugh. Here it comes. This is another thing where we are. It would be that you would have brown pots and green pots lined up here with axe handles and crowbars to catch and stop Centerpole. But they figured out with the windle sticks that that wasn't actually going to be a concern with the grass and everything. Centerpole just stopped, just as the windle sticks had done. So then it was a process of upper leadership lining Centerpole up to perimeter and rolling it up to perimeter. There was a question, and there's questions every year from people watching, people following Bonfire, and when they see the different photos, Centerpole is no longer spliced. It used to be spliced. And what I've found is that the idea of the splice has kind of taken on like an importance. The splice itself is important to people. The purpose of a splice Centerpole was to get a pole long enough to get from the ground all the way up to the top of stack. And you weren't going to get that unless you spliced Centerpole, or you sent the Sea Aggies to Norway with a boat to cut down a fir tree big enough, which did happen. But that's not happening here. So, and it didn't happen any other time except for then. So you would splice Centerpole to get that much length. Well, now every log touches the ground. So logs don't stack on top of logs. And, basic physics and reality, the tallest log that can be stacked is a 32-foot tall log. Now, we did start with some 36 footers in 03, and we learned very quickly that, yeah, we can do it, but the margin of error on this, we went down to 32, and it has stayed at 32 cents. And so there's no call for a splice Centerpole, but the splice, you get the impression that people would say, well, okay, so maybe you don't need to splice it, but you should still splice. You should still do a splice Centerpole, just because the process and the ceremony around splicing was such a thing. But yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. It's just not necessary. I guess the version now of the treatment of the pole that would be like the splice would be the collar, setting up the collar and to have the pipes going out to the collars around the windle sticks, that sort of rigging that has to happen. I think that would be the closest thing to the import and ceremony of the splice. But that only happens with upper leadership. Who knows? We'll see where it's at in 20 years. So this is the last windle stick getting called off. Senior still on the truck in the background. And trying to just illustrate how many people are out there and how many people are called for to be out there. These are just the folks that got to the pole when the meet was called. But there's a great, it's a great experience to get your hands on the windle sticks, and most especially Centerpole, and know for the rest of the season that, you got to carry that. And Centerpole, I mean, that is the thing. And that is why it's so important that ideally it is the privilege of exclusively the fish to lift it and carry it to the chalks. There were years in the past where some upperclassmen were required to get on the Centerpole. But over the last 2 years, it has been just fish that have lifted Centerpole, which is really outstanding. One of the things that the boys don't just run up to Lufkin Creosote and say, hey, give me that tree or that pole. There's actually a trip up in advance where they go up and they look at all the poles that are available and they hand pick which poles they want. And we see here, signed for by junior and senior head stack, claimed. And then Lufkin Creosote holds on to it until the Reds decide that they want to go get it. Here they're having a quick review. quick review before they call for the meet, because together, everybody together, it's a completely reasonable, if challenging task, lifting Centerpole, but it requires everybody to be together on the same page. And so it's good to have a good review for everybody. This is once again, the order of operations and who's saying what, when, and what everybody's job is going to be. You're going to have brown pots and green pots guarding the chalks to make sure that as people approach those, they're tapped out so nobody's tripping over anybody. Everybody's getting out of the way when they're supposed to. We may see it here. And at this point, they have just called for meat, and you see the meat running to it. And this is also the time every year where I see if I can spot anybody who conveniently didn't hear the rules or accidentally almost tripped so that they could touch Centerpole before they were supposed to. And as has become sort of a shot every year, it's almost to the point where it's a superstition for me, where I've got to have this shot every year. And with light fading fast, sun setting, yeah, it's hard. This is that time where it gets harder to adjust by the second. Squadron 16 fish out there. We've talked about it before, what the Charlie Brown shirts are, and maybe one day we'll talk about it again. But as I said, I'm sleepy. And if you build bonfire, you're getting motivated for tomorrow. And if you don't, then you got work tomorrow. So we'll tell the Charlie Brown story some other time. So the seniors climb on top and see who can last the longest riding Centerpole. And there are 5 seniors, and I don't intend to call anybody out. But here, we're not even halfway up, and we've lost senior number 1. There he is. There he is. So we're down to 4 before we're halfway up. All the way up. Still got 4. And now begins the saddle. Saddle left, that's the call. Still got 4, as they've already saddled a couple times. You see here, there's the light pole. So they're already in to perimeter. Down to 3. Losing another, losing a third. And he's gone, and we're down to 2. Can head stack make it? Almost. Oh, this is the part where he said he was trying not to fall and accidentally got somebody's head. So there he goes. So I like those. I like some of those old photos where, unfortunately, the photo didn't quite work out, but it's actually okay that it didn't. And I think this is an example of that. Nothing's in focus. It's garbage, but you get the idea. And we're down to 1. How far does he make it? All right, we're saddling left. Got the trees on stumps. And you figure out pretty quick, especially when you're on this end, that it ain't easy. It's fun. You're ready for fun. When you get to the front, you're motivated to get to carry Centerpole. But then you figure out real quick that it hurts. And this was a long move too. Almost there. And this is, it's always, you try to keep it quiet anyway, but when you start getting close to the chalks, this is where, pun not intended, but the gravity of the situation starts to settle in. You've got one of your reds back there with a handle, giving the junior head stack a clear idea of where the end of the pole is. So as he's calling ass in left, front in left, everybody saddle left, kind of steering that using the handle up in the air. And at this point, yeah, they have made it to the chalks, and they're lowering it onto the chalks. And it actually, lowering it onto the chalks this year went so well. So well. There's a lot this year that, given from small incidental stuff like just something that happens in past. Did you get the thing on the chalks or not? Just everything. They're just, everybody's paying attention, listening, doing everything so well. There's just so many things, big and small, that it's just, man, this is a special year. This is a really special year. The Centerpole here is going to ride on these chalks for the entire time that it's being prepared. Adding the collar to it, adding the cap, shims around the cap, all of that stuff. Another powwow of upper leadership, planning for what is next, which is to announce who has who has earned Centerpole and perimeter poles. And you will find that out tomorrow. If you've built it, you already know who has earned it. But outside of the circle of people who have earned it and participated this year, it is not my business to say until tomorrow. So you'll find out tomorrow at Centerpole Raising who has earned Centerpole and the perimeter poles. But I am very proud of those Aggies who did earn Centerpole and the perimeter poles. Here's Red Ass Fish being awarded a trophy. Obviously, I am not adjusting to the light. Well, OC has earned a Centerpole, a perimeter pole. I can tell you who won the perimeter polls. I'm not going to tell you who are in Centerpole. Because you're going to see who are in the perimeter polls when they start digging holes. And we're going to look at a few of those photos before we move on. And then the juniors take off to call the people who they need to talk to. And I'm not going to show you who they called to talk to. You'll find out tomorrow. But they did talk to him. They talked to him for a little bit. Gave him all kinds of hell. And everybody else gets to dig in for their perimeter polls. And this was a fun night. Again, in line with the motivation and everything special that's happening this year. Everybody hung around. Everybody helped. Music started playing. People were having fun. This is what it's all about. And, you know, when you get into stack season, that's one of the really special things is that's the time. Here a yellow pot was not paying attention to his crowbar, and it is buried up to the very top. I've never seen a crowbar buried this deep. So mind your tools. Yeah, so everybody's getting along. Everybody's doing great. Energy's high. That magic part of stack when everybody who had been working in different woods far away from each other is now working with each other side by side. And you realize that, you know, these folks that you've only heard and talked trash to and, might have seen walking from the parking lot. Now you're working together. And that's a pretty cool turn of events. And now, the Browns and Greens are running things because the Reds and Junior Reds are on campus having a conversation with the Centerpole crew. So we're getting down towards, at this point, it's a bunch of underexposed photos or poorly exposed photos with one or two that work in between them all. So I'm going to spare you having to watch me figure out which one of these in the whole mix work and which ones I missed. I'm going to spare you that adventure so that we can all, as quickly as possible, get a little rest and get ready and motivated for tomorrow, which is Centerpole raising. And then 2 days after tomorrow, is dress log cut and the official end of cut season. We're already there, Ags. That is wild. You are already there. I'm just watching you. So outstanding work. I'll be up a little later working on these. Everybody else get some rest. We'll see you out there tomorrow. Let's finish. Let's finish back on a Centerpole photo, huh? That one. Yeah. All right, Aggies. Centerpole is in perimeter. Tomorrow, it will be raised. Stack will begin. and little over a month, and stack will be completed. So an outstanding season. Y'all are doing an outstanding job, motivating the hell out of all of us former students, Aggies. Really great stuff. Outstanding. Gigamags, build the hell out of Bonfire.